गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Amrit Anubhav, undifferentiated consciousness, and here we are looking at the we were looking at the vritti jnanam and vritti ajnanam. And here it was told the nature of this knowledge is that there is no differentiation of the knower known in it. Knower is the subject, known is the object, and this reality, this pure consciousness is that where the subject object bifurcation is not there. You, and remember, subjectively you are the subject. That's how we say, no, subjectively. So we are the subject. And who are we really? In which there is no subject-object bifurcation. So where is subject-object bifurcation taking place? Is it taking place in consciousness or is it taking place in mind? It's taking place in mind. Isn't it? In consciousness, by nature consciousness is complete. Yet there appears to be a bifurcation between subject and object. So it cannot, because it is as if it is happening. Where is it happening? It is happening in the mind, because we have accepted ourselves to be a limited person. Vritti jnanam is destroyed by vritti ajnanam is destroyed by vritti jnanam. This we explained last week, that in the relative, a thought only can remove another thought. You cannot remove the thought by something else. So if we are having negative thoughts, then we have to have positive thoughts. If we are having hateful thoughts, then we have to have loving thoughts. Same way, if we are having thoughts of ignorance, we have to replace them with thoughts of reality, isn't it? So which are the thoughts of reality? That is vritti jnanam, if we may put it that way. So what is vritti ajnanam? At a relative level, all those thoughts which take you away from your essential nature is vritti ajnanam, and all those thoughts which take you towards your essential nature are vritti jnanam. When you come to this point, then you come next stage. Vritti itself is ajnanam. But don't go into that first. Start replacing the ajnan with the jnan. The vritti jnanam is, and when we replace, and last week we told you that when we replace the thoughts of the world by the thoughts of the self, Sat, Chit, Anand, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarupa, I am Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, all the Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Brahmatmaikya Bodha, Ekameva Dvitiya, Kaivalya, all these are those thoughts when contemplated upon by the mind, all the thoughts will be nullified. You will be established in that which that all these words were indicating, that they do not lead to any conclusion. Self is not a conclusion which has to be reached. It is the natural state. It is that which is always. So by this thinking, what are we making happen? By this thinking, that which was an impediment between me and my true nature, that impediment we have removed. And what is that impediment? Thought. Thought is by nature objective. Agree? Thought by nature is objective. Now, within that objectivity of the thought, we are choosing such a thought which indicates the subject. And when it is indicating of the subject and all your data and doubts or everything are sorted and you are very clear, then it leads to the mind, because it can never realize the subject, the essence. The mind can never realize the essence. Aprapya manasasaha. That pure consciousness is beyond the mind. And in this way, that vritti ajnanam has to be replaced with vritti jnanam, and the vritti jnanam is also destroyed by itself, and what is left is the ever present pure knowledge, where there is no differentiation of subject object and of the dvandva, the dualism. Dualism of subject object is in the mind. Now this is the technology. You have to apply it. If you understand and you are nodding at this moment and you are recognizing that all the thoughts are taking you away from yourself, then you choose such thoughts which will take you to yourself, and eventually they will die their own death. And thoughts are dying their own death anyway, but let them be thoughts of the self rather than of the world. Let that be thought of Aham Brahmasmi, let that be thought of Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, let that be thought of Tattvamasi, Soham. Thus it will be seen that the word Jnanam has several layers of meaning, such as Jnanam is that where the trio exists. Jnanam is that where the trio exists. What is the trio? The knower, known, and the knowing. Experiencer, experienced, and the experiencing. The speaker, spoken, and the speaking. So these are the trio. This is only when this trio is there, then a thought is formed. Without this trio, subject, object, and the instrument of knowledge, without these three, the thought cannot be formed in the mind. Where the trio exists, or Jnanam is the understanding about the difference in the pairs of opposites. Jnanam is the understanding about the difference in the pair of opposites, or Jnanam can denote the experience of the knower about the known, and Jnanam can also mean that because of which all knowledge is possible, but wherein the differentiation does not exist. So different understandings of knowledge from an individual perspective, depending upon your purification, depending upon your availability to the true meaning of the knowledge. So what was the first one? First one was knowledge means where the triputi is available, which is the subject, object, and the instrument of knowledge. The second was about the knowledge about the differences of in the pairs of opposite. That like is other to dislike, that up is up, other than down, inside is other than outside, male is separate to female, and so on. It goes on. Heat versus cold, summer versus winter, etc., etc., day versus night, opposites. This is also knowledge for us, isn't it? Then third one, or jnanam can denote the experience of the knower. What is my experience? That the water is warm, this is my experience. Now we are coming to the subject. It's a subjective experience. It's not, we are not talking about experience, less experience. We are talking about in the mind. It's the subjective experience. The individual is experiencing, having interacted with the object. Now he is having an experience. The lecture was confusing. The lecture was divine. The morning was beautiful. It's an experience and this is from point of view of the subject. That is the knowledge of the jnanam can denote the experience of the knower about the known. And the fourth one, and jnanam can also mean that because of which all knowledge is possible. So jnanam, now this is the ultimate. What is that? By knowing which everything is known. That is also jnanam. We are talking about the pure self. Are the words Satchidananda Swarup, are the words Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarup, are they indicating the individual? Are they denoting the ego? No. Are they trying to establish that ego is Satchidananda Swarup? No. Are they telling the individual that you are individual is Satchidananda Swarup? Yes, in essence. See? So that essence is the true knowledge. And where are we? Knowledge is possible, but wherein the differentiation does not exist. And what is this pure knowledge? What is this knowledge where all knowledge is known? It is that undifferentiated knowledge. It is that knowledge in which the pairs of opposites are neutralized, nullified. The differentiation does not exist. Bhagwan Krishna refers to this as that jnana, what is it? That jnana savijnanam, having known which nothing remains to be known. This is written in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 2. But the same thing is told in Kathopanishad also. When when Nachiket asked the Lord for death, that please tell me that by knowing which nothing remains to be known. See? That will be the Sarva Shrestha Jnanam. That will be the ultimate. That will be the absolute. After knowing that, there is nothing remain to be known. When you are having an experience, next experience is waiting. When you are knowing an object, next object is waiting. When you are knowing a thought, one triad comes, then the next triad is waiting to appear. So all these other ones are they are like a flow. But this ultimate jnanam, by knowing which everything is known, after that there is no repetition of that. That is what we mean by no conclusion, or conclusion after which there is nothing else possible. Thus, the one who was knowing the vritti jnanam, which destroyed the vritti ajnanam, was present both when ignorance existed as ignorance and when ignorance existed as knowledge. Now, this is very subtle. You have to be very in tune to this, that vritti jnanam, the thoughts of ignorance, were replaced by thoughts of knowledge. You were present when thoughts of ignorance were present in the mind. You were present when the thoughts of knowledge were present in the mind. So you were there when the ignorance was there, you were there when the knowledge was also there. Then both the knowledge and ignorance have gone, but Shuddha Jnanam, which was present in both of them, continues to be. Just as sun continues to be in spite of the day and night, sunrise, sunset, heat and light. Similarly, who am I? I am that which was present when the thoughts of ignorance were there. I am present in a satsang where thoughts of knowledge are being presented. So I was present before also, I am present here also. So, but where do we get lost? We get lost in knowledge and ignorance. But both knowledge as well as ignorance are product of, at thought level, are product of ignorance alone. Thought of ignorance could be tamasic and rajasic. Thought of knowledge, you can put it in the category of the sattvic. But sattva, rajas, tamas are effects of ignorance alone, expressions of ignorance alone. And this is known by someone. And that one I am. Put it in another way. Thought of ignorance, waking, deep sleep. Thought of knowledge, waking and dream. But all the three are known by you, no? Which one is that? Is that the one who is nodding right now? Who is that? We have to get to that one. We have to be that one. Not get to, we have to be that one. It requires a very, very subtle experiment on ourselves. And that experiment is not to gain anything. That experiment is done to dissolve everything. Dissolve the mind, dissolve the personality, dissolve the seeker, dissolve the individual, dissolve the ego, whatever you may call, words you may use. But it is to dissolve. And after the dissolution, whatever remains, or what is remaining, is you, the true you. That is the Shuddha Jnanam. And what is the Shuddha Jnanam? It is that Jnanam where there is undifferentiated knowledge. There is no Dvaita or Dvandva. There is no duality of subject and object. There is no duality of inside and outside. There is no duality of me versus you. Think. And in this manner, in this pure knowledge, there is no differentiation in the form of presence or absence, knowledge or ignorance. Presence and absence, presence of thought. Now go, we are taking you beyond vritti ajnanam and vritti jnanam. Even the absence is known as a thought only. There is nothing. Is there something object called nothing? No, but you know that only has the word nothing, isn't it? So, absence, which is complete vacuum or nothingness, and presence of a thought. This is happening every moment. Every word that you are hearing, after that there is a gap, then the next word is heard, then there is a gap, then next word is heard, then there is a gap. But is our attention on the knowledge of, on the presence of the thoughts, and we take that as knowledge, or is our attention on the continuous principle in whose presence the presence and absence are dancing away, without whom the presence and absence also have got no meaning? Come to be that one. Undifferentiated pure knowledge alone prevails. How? An example is given. Just as the waking state destroys the deep sleep state, and thereafter the waking state alone prevails. Just as the waking state destroys the deep sleep state. You cannot have a carryover of deep sleep into the waking. We try that, isn't it? We have a carryover effect of meditation also. We have carryover effect of imagination also, carryover effect of sleep also. So here he is saying, just as the waking state destroys the deep sleep state, and thereafter the waking state alone prevails. There is no sign of deep sleep in the waking. There is no sign of dream also in the waking. The dream and the deep sleep states are not given any value in the waking state, which becomes so powerful that it alone seems to be the one's total existence. And because we have put all the eggs in the basket of the waking, we are living this individual life of only being the waker. So from knowledge point of view, dream and deep sleep are ajnanam. Waking is jnanam. Are you pursuing the dream? No. Do you want to remain in sleep all the time? No. Do you want to remain in the waking all the time? Yes. This is where the knowledge is taking place for you. This is this, this is that, this is this. All this is available to you here. This knowledge is not available in the absence, which is deep sleep. See how much disservice we are doing to ourselves by holding on to everything in the waking. Waking is not end in all. Your experience of life is waking, dream and deep sleep. Living only 1/3 life and thinking we are intelligent. So the waking and dream are given zero value when we come into the waking. So just like vritti jnanam was given value, in satsang we are giving value to vritti jnanam. We are not giving value to vritti ajnanam. At this moment when you are interacting in a satsang, listening, doing the shravanam, you are not available to your children, you are not available to your parents, you are not available to your bed, you are not available to your duna, you are not available to your whatever. So many hang-ups we have. So many attachments we have. But for 1 hour we leave them aside and we come, I hope. So we have replaced vritti ajnanam with vritti jnanam in satsang. At least we are getting exposed to it. See? Same way, exactly the same way. When we are in the waking, we are not giving any value to the dream and the deep sleep, which is vritti ajnanam. Then he says, in the same way, pure knowledge alone prevails after the vritti jnanam has been destroyed by vritti jnanam. So just like this, just as in the waking, we do not think about the deep sleep or the dream. Similarly, when we come to the Shuddha Jnanam, when we come to the pure self, when we come to this undifferentiated knowledge that is our essential nature, the natural state, then the thoughts of vritti ajnanam do not persecute us, do not disturb us, do not affect us, because we are not giving them any value. Are they there? How can they be there? Oh, but we see Mahatmas, that is a different story now. Can while listening to lecture sleep come? Yes. Can while listening to lecture, can we go into a reverie, into an imagination, into the past? Every possibility is there. That you will think of thoughts of the world while being exposed to the satsang, which is thoughts of knowledge. There is every possibility of the distraction, isn't it? Then what will ensure that the satsang is not corrupted by the thoughts of the world? Your availability to the satsang. So when you are available to the thoughts of knowledge, and then you are still at the thought level. But when you are completely available to the undifferentiated knowledge as the undifferentiated knowledge, will you be available to the thoughts of the world? Vritti jnanam or vritti ajnanam? No. You will not be available. You are delinked from both. You are delinked from all thought knowledge. All thought knowledge was keeping us in the loop of relativity. Now we have gone out of the gravity of the loop of relativity. Pure knowledge alone prevails after the vritti jnanam has been destroyed by vritti jnanam. So practice, can we practice undifferentiated knowledge? No. Can we practice undifferentiated knowledge? Undifferentiated knowledge, Shuddha Gyan, is not something to be practiced. Because it is your natural state, it's the constant. All we can do is whatever was coming in between, whatever was keeping us away from ourselves, our true selves, we can remove that. And that is the process of spirituality. And until unless you don't accept that thoughts of the world, thoughts of the family, thoughts of the possession, thoughts of the house, thoughts of the waking are keeping me away from myself, then nobody can help us. How will we think of the Namajap? How will we think of Soham? How will we think of Tattvamasi when we have put all our eggs in the basket of the waking? Nobody can help us. We have to help ourselves. But understand the principle here. don't commit sabotage on a daily basis. One of the methods for achieving this state is to practice dropping the entire past prior to this moment as an old carcass and live fully in the present. Never talk about your past. Live in the past is total past is equal to your ego. Drop it and start with small things. Then when you are listening to satsang, you will be 100%. Then when you are making the dosa, you will be 100%. Then when you are fighting with your wife, you will be 100%. Then when you are driving, 100%. When you are walking, 100%. Any project has come to you, you are 100%. Then there is no corruption in it because you are practicing. Corruption is the past. Assessment of the present with the past events is the corruption. And that is what sucks our energy out. Because past failures, and we think, oh, I think I will not pass, I will not succeed this time also. Or past successes, and we become expectant of the same success in the present moment. There is no guarantee. All we can do is interact with the present 100% without any corruption of the past or corruption of the future. See? But we are continuously allowing the corruption to come in. There is no place for frustration or depression for such an individual. He is always tranquil and joyful. He neither desires nor grieves. In that state, one remains effortless. Efforts are in the individuality. Efforts are in the seeker. Efforts are till we are replacing vritti ajnanam, thoughts of ignorance, with thoughts of knowledge. This is efforts. With consciously, with choice, we are doing that. But in this undifferentiated knowledge, in this Shuddha Chaitanya or the Shuddha Jnanam, which is our essential nature, it is effortless. When you think that you know waking dream and deep sleep coming and going every day, what's the effort in thinking? In knowing? A common person never thinks in that way. But when he comes to satsang, we say, isn't it your experience? Yes, it is my experience. What effort was there? You heard and you, yes, that's it. You acknowledged it. We say, oh, you are the woman and the mother, daughter, sister, these are the expressions, imaginary expressions coming out. When we put the mirror in front of, the scriptures put the mirror in front of us, we just accept it. What? It was effortless. When we put the mirror in front of you, that the thought knowledge and the absence of thought knowledge, but you are the continuous one, in whose presence the thought and the absence of thought both are illumined. It's effortless. You don't have to do anything. In fact, nobody is doing anything. Everything is happening only. And that is Maya. That is this Shakti. That is this phenomena. The moment, oh, I have to do something, seeker is born. Seeker is the ignorant fellow. He's got the ego of being a seeker. In undifferentiated knowledge, there is no ego. There is no place for frustration. Therefore, when we are living 100%, doing what is required to be done, without thoughts of the past or future, regrets of the past, memories of the past or future expectations of result, whatever, how can there be there? It will be ananda, limitless energy that time. Frustration, depression, doubt, suspicion, it all comes because of past and future. Anxiety, panic, fear. He is always tranquil and joyful. Why he is tranquil and joyful? Because he neither desires nor grieves. He does not desire a particular result. Remember in the 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita we are seeing Nitya karma has to be done. Do it joyfully. You have to do it anyway. You have to get up to go to school anyway. You have to get up to go to work anyway. You got choice. Either you do it crying or you do it joyfully. Do it joyfully. Help yourself to be in the positive state of mind. But we are, we want to sleep more. We want to remain inactive. See? So when we are in the moment with whatever life has presented us, according to, as we saw in the 18th chapter, whatever life has brought to us, not performing desire prompted activity, first aspect of the equation. The second aspect of the equation, not expecting a karma phala, not expecting a result. Then you are available to what is to be done, and that will automatically happen 100%. Automatically the joy will express. You don't have to will the joy, I am going to be happy. Where there is no corruption of past or future, there is no corruption of desire to do something or achieve something or not to achieve something, nor the desire for the particular result, then mind is free. A free mind is a joyous mind. And with that disposition you perform whatever is in front of you. It will be extraordinary. When you are doing it, you lose time, you got no idea, because you are at one with what you are doing. Then you are not looking at time when the satsang is going to be over. Then you are not looking at when it is at 5 o'clock, I have to go home, I have to go home, I have to go home from work. See? When we are in the moment, that time loses meaning for us. Place loses meaning for us. Object also loses meaning for us, because we are at one ment with the action. Action is with something always. So understand this principle and live 100% every moment. That is what Mahatmas are doing. That's why we get inspired by them. So you be one Mahatma or Mahatmi, so that others get inspired by being in your company. See? This is the way. In that state, one remains effortless. Efforts are only in the mind. Efforts are not in the nature, in the essence. In this way, after having studied the scriptures and reflected upon and inquired into the Atma Anatma Bheda, Atma the self, Anatma the not self, Bheda the difference, and acquired knowledge without any doubt, nirmala jnanam, that means pure jnanam, pure knowledge. What is pure knowledge? That knowledge which has got no doubts with regards to it. The jnana vritti consumes the ajnana vritti, and thereafter it also dies. What remains is pure knowledge. Remember, compared to the object, subject is the jnana vritti. Understand? Subject is the jnana vritti. And this subject which was thinking, I am father, mother, daughter, sister, old, young, diseased, healthy. Now this was his definition about himself. This was his identity about himself. Now he is told, you are Sat, Chit, Anand, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarup. Oh, yo. Don't overload me with this this knowledge. Oi, the mother is going, oi, the sister is going, oi, this is, so first you had the knowledge of ignorance with regards to yourself. Now you are having the knowledge of thoughts which remind you of your true nature. To who? To whom is this being told? To the I is being told, isn't it? So before, the I was maintaining its identity with respect to objects, people in the world. I am rich, I am poor, I am uncle, I am auntie, I am father, I am mother, I am young, I am old, I am whatever. Now it is being, this I is having identity. I am Sat, I am Chit, I am Anand, I am Nitya, I am internal, I am unborn, I am, the world is in me, I am not in the world. And the whole data is changing. But it is still objective knowledge for this I. It has not become subjective yet. So what has happened? He has replaced the ajnana vritti, the thought of the world, by the thoughts of knowledge. This is not to prove the world is true or false. It is all with regards to the self, the I. So it was all about his identity, that I am father, mother, daughter, sister, now I am Satchidanand Swarup, but it is both still at the thought level. How long will this continue, this replacement? As long as there is a doubt. As the doubts reduce, how will the doubts reduce? How will the doubts reduce with regards to this new identity that the scriptures and the masters are telling us? You have to become convinced yourself. Nobody can convince you. Listen to the satsang, apply it subjectively. Listen to it with a cool mind. And if we are doing that as he is telling, so systematically it is going here, then this I becomes convinced, has got no doubt as regards to its true identity, but it has not realized yet. So it is saying what? I am that, I am that, I am that. Now it's stuck in I am that. It's still vritti jnanam. And what is I am that telling? Aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. But experience, no, I can't say experience. The thought hasn't gone yet. He is having this, he's so convinced. But how long is that conviction? As long as that thought is going. As long as that thought is going, there is still an iota of doubt. There is still an iota of lack of conviction. There is still an iota of objectivity in his approach. That's why the Aham Brahmasmi is still going on. Japa, thinking. When that, and this objective approach to the I, that my true nature is Aham Brahmasmi, what that word indicates. Understanding is there, but experience, abidance is not there. It happens only by grace. All we can do is come up to this point. And from that moment on, undifferentiated knowledge begins. So first the I was attached to so many thoughts, then the I was attached to Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi, the teacher told, and he said Aham Brahmasmi, I am, or Soham, Soham, Soham. So from so many things he came to, now he has to give up the objectivity also. And in this process, time and space are automatically taken care of. You don't have to work out the time and space. And objectivity, they go away because you are focused, time and space you transcend to a large extent. But the final dissolution is only grace. Only grace. When this Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, which is Vritti Jnanam, which replaced Vritti Ajnanam, this Vritti Jnanam equal to Aham Brahmasmi or whatever japa you are doing, that also dissolves away. And if that dissolves away, it doesn't mean that you have dissolved away, you are still there. You are noticing that the thought has dissolved away. Who is left behind? Now, before, when mother, daughter, sister dissolved away, or when you are going to sleep, the whole world with all the roles that you are playing dissolved away, because you are not focused on Aham Brahmasmi, you go into sleep, because that's the natural conclusion. When everything is gone, where am I? I don't know. Sleep. But now we are changing the game within the mind. You are saying, hey, don't go and knock the door of nothingness. That nothingness and that somethingness, which is the thought, both are in my presence. And that will require, many times you will fall into sleep out of default. But you have to keep. This is what the japa is. When you do the japa, you train yourself not to go to sleep. Therefore, loud chanting, not mental chanting. Many times you will come to the threshold of sleep. But you have to break through that barrier and come to the wakefulness. Just like when we wake up, the lingering sleep is still there, but we have to force ourselves to get out of it and jump out of the bed. If you continue laying in the bed, the sleep can come over, and again, before you know, it's 11 o'clock. You jump out, break the cycle. Same way, you jump out of the mind. Don't continue thinking after that. When the last thought is dissolved, you have jumped out of the mind. Meaning, it's just now, don't think there is mind. All that mind has dissolved. Now the conscious has flooded. There is nothing but waters everywhere. Is the pralay of consciousness. Consciousness has flooded every ocean and every wave. Now what is left then after that? Only waters. Undifferentiated knowledge. This is explained by a few examples in the following OV. Now this is our Jnaneshwar Maharaj's unique capability. का दर्पणाचा निघाला ऐक्यबोध पहिला मुखभोगी आपला Apanatsi. Essentially, initially the face alone exists which enjoys the reflection in a mirror through duality to attain the initial essential oneness of the face. Huh? So originally the face was available. You went and looked into the mirror. But when you looked into the mirror, where was your attention? I'm not talking vision. Where was your attention? Your vision is on the reflected face, but your attention is on the original. But you were the original before also. See the game. You were the original before you came to the mirror also. And after coming to the mirror, your attention is still on the self. Is this what is taking place when we are moving in the world? Is everything and everyone reminding us of the self? I should not use the word reminder. Is our attention on the self when we are interacting with the husband, with the children, with the people, with the job, whatever? How beautiful the example. Left alone, we would never think like this. But when we listen, read the master's words, suddenly a new way of approach is presented. And this, looking into the mirror, we are doing every day. Before looking into the mirror, one knows one has a face, that is oneself. I am essentially one without a second. Then one wants to see one's own face, so a duality is created with the help of the mirror. Just like wife is created with the help of a mirror called man. Out of the mirror comes the reflected face. Out of the man comes the reflected face called wife. But where is that wife? Is that wife in the man or is the wife in you? See? Out of, where are we? Out of the mirror comes the reflected face. Out of me, the pure consciousness, came out this Dvaita, I the knower and I the known. Out of the water alone, the ocean and the wave came. Out of the one alone, the cause and effect came. Out of the one alone, the subject and object came. Out of the one alone, the Guru and Shishya came. Out of the one alone, the Shiva and Shakti came. I'm connecting all the previous chapters. Because otherwise we'll get stuck with a mirror. Now we'll keep looking for mirror. Where is the mirror? So out of me, the pure knowledge, came out the Dvaita, the I the knower and I the known, the subject and the object. The I, the original face, entered the mirror and came out as a I, the reflected came out as a I, the reflection. We keep whatever we are interacting with the world, we take it as an object of knowledge and keep it as separate. We maintain the difference. The solution to this, the psychological integration that is required the mental integration that is required, it will only come when we think in this manner. And what is that? This pure consciousness, at least at intellectual level, understand it first, that this pure consciousness alone bifurcated as the knower and the known, the subject and the object. And this subject, the knower, when it reflects in the known, when the subject reflects in the known, then there is a reflected I. So when the woman reflects with the man, then the reflection is called the wife. When the woman reflects with the mirror called the children, then the reflection is called the mother. For reflection, something is required, no? If there is no man, will you call yourself a wife? If there is no child, will you call yourself a mother? If you have got no body, will there be body identification? No. Can there be a reflected I? Or Chidabhas or life? If there is no body, life is where is life? There is no body. So understand that the I, the original face, entered the mirror and came out as I, the reflection. Now, I'm giving you different example, other way of looking at it, or you take as the mirror also. The subject and object. The subject is reflecting in the mirror of the object. And what do you see? The mirror. You see yourself. What is that self? It is the reflected self, isn't it? This knower known subject object dichotomy was only a game of duality. It's only a game. And what have we done? We have taken it to be real. And what have we done? We have forgotten the real. And we have taken the game to be real. And we have invested all our energy into maintaining this game, which is not in your control. You have invested so much into this game that we have forgotten the original, who is appearing as the game, who is appearing as the subject object, who is appearing as the knower known. And when you are lost in the game, you take the object to be real and yourself to be real, and you create the distance between the subject and the object. And what is the truth? The one alone is appearing as the subject as well as the object. The self that I am alone is expressing as the I thought, aham vritti, and the idam vritti. Both are in me only, no? They are not coming from outside. You take this point and contemplate on it, all your issues of life will be sorted once and for all. You cannot but then love everyone unconditionally, because everything and everyone is nothing but an expression of the self. Then whom will you push away, or whom will you get attached to? Whom will you get infatuated by? Because we have not done this inquiry into ourselves as to our true nature. You sort this out not outside in the world, by remaining attached to the world, by remaining indispensable to the world, by collecting more in this world to establish your identity or your sense of identity. You come to this conclusion that The entire world is nothing but expression of the self. It may not be your experience at this moment, but at least work towards it. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is telling so clearly. And when you are listening, it's making sense also to some extent, I hope. Now you have to find in yourself to remain focused with this type of contemplation. In yourself, by yourself. Spend some time with yourself every day. How is it that the self, I am understanding, self alone is expressing as the aham and idam? What is the consequence of it? Then why am I getting attached to idam? Why am I cannot stop thinking of idam? And what is idam for me? For me, what is idam? Is idam only the world? Is idam past, present, future? Is the idam waking, dream, deep sleep? Is vidam? And you will, if you can't think right, and eventually you will come to know that everything other than I is idam. It will be your conclusion. Oh. And this so entire, everything is idam. And that is also expression of the self, pure self alone. And this I thought who is interacting with this entire idam is also the expression of the pure self alone. How is it possible? Don't come to conclusion. Stay with it. Revelation will happen. Stay with it. Don't allow corruption of any other thought. Just stay with it. How is it? How is it? How is it that the one me alone is expressing as these two? And where are these two? They are not out there in the world. They are in my mind first. Aham and idam are two thoughts within my mind. The knower and known. Known is also known in the mind. You don't know it outside. So knower and known is in the mind, experiencer experienced is in the mind, aham and idam are in the mind, subject and object idea, they are nothing but thoughts, they are also in the mind. How the I alone am expressing as these two? How will I come to know? How will I come to know? Bhagwan, please help. God, please help. Guru Maharaj, please help. Stay with it, stay with it. Don't deviate. Don't deviate. It will click. Whenever it, by the grace, it will click. It will not click to prove aham and idam. Because as long as my attention is focused on aham and idam thought in the mind, I am watching, I have to know how did this aham idam come, aham idam come. You are giving value to the duality. And one day the penny has to drop. That as long as I am looking at this phenomena of subject-object, solution will never come. I have to go to the source of this subject and object. What is the source of the subject? Me only. Who is this me? I. Okay. What is this I? That is what we are studying. Satchidanand Swarup. It is beyond Jnana and Ajnan. It is beyond Vritti. Jnana and Ajnan is only a Vritti. And again, only by grace it will click. Click means the obsession first, understanding that everything is an expression of the pure self, and the root of everything is this aham and idam. This is also at the level of thought or level of mind, and then weaning away from the mind and through the mind contemplating on this fellow, becoming convinced that I am that original one, I am that, and that which is all this is that, this is that, everything is that. And because of our old habit of objectifying, working it out intellectually, you have to come to a point where you are totally, you cannot work it out anymore. Then the penny drops, then the grace flows. Or you are thinking, but you are available to the solution, and you don't know what the solution is. Intellectually, you know you are the solution to yourself. But trying to work it out through the mind. The knower-known subject-object dichotomy was only a game of duality, but the aikya, the oneness of the source I, from whom the knower-known knowledge came, is never denied. Then such a person, he moves through the world unaffected by the world. He does not fight with his mind, I don't want this thought or I don't want that thought. Okay, he does not fight with I want to be always awake or I don't want to sleep. He who has woken up to his essential nature, he allows the mind to go through whatever the phenomena it has to go through, never losing himself. This is what we are coming to in Kenopanishad now. Another 2-3 verses that this point will be coming to. See? When one looks into the mirror, it is to enjoy one's own face. The enjoyer, the enjoyed, and the enjoyment are one. Right? When we look into the mirror, we are not come to disgust ourselves. We get disgusted, that's a different matter, but the intention is not that. The enjoyer I am. And what is the enjoyed? The reflection. Reflection also I am. And the enjoyment, in the process of interacting with my own reflection, is the enjoyment. That is the interaction, that is also within me only. That is also me only. So all three are nothing but me only, in essence. So they seem to be three: the original phase, the reflected phase, and the enjoyment gained as a result of interaction between the original and the reflected. These seem to be three, but actually are one. Subject, object, and the instrument of knowledge appear to be three, but actually are one. The ocean, wave, tide appear to be three, but are actually one, the waters. Necklace, earring, anklets appear to be three, but actually are one, gold. This you cannot work out by looking at the world outside. You have to work it out in your mind, because you are and the mind is, both are within, so to speak. You know you are the mind also. Now you have to work out between them. You cannot work it out there in the world. You can't keep reading book after book after book and try to work it out. It is self-analysis. Self-analysis does not mean mind analysis. But analysis cannot take place without the mind, isn't it? But when the analysis is taking place, right now that is what is going on, where is our attention? Is it on the vritti jnanam, or is it on the one without a second principle that we are? So also in every experience, what is sought is this oneness and nothing else. There is only experiencing, and there is neither the experiencer nor the experienced. So this whole game of the three has been created only to experience. You have got married not to make your husband or wife happy, to make yourself happy. You have got kids not to make them happy. It's hard work, only to make the joy that you get out of it. You eat food not to make someone else happy, to satisfy yourself. You go to sleep to feel happy. You wake up for yourself. Everything in life is happening for yourself only. But we are not recognizing that this self is the one without a second. It is all inclusive. This whole drama that is going on, or the game that is going on, or he who has recognized that it is a game, then it becomes Ram Leela, Krishna Leela. And who has not recognized that it is the game, for them life becomes a burden, life becomes a survival, life becomes a compromise, life becomes a manipulation, life becomes accumulation, including, no, I'm not talking accumulation of wealth. Memories are also accumulation only, because on that we have popped up our identity based on that accumulation. Get out of all this, recognize. See. So also in every experience, what is sought is the oneness and nothing else. That is why we accept someone. That is why we hug someone. That is why we want to go to temple, to become one with God. But instead of becoming one with God, that is why we close the eyes also. Because we know that God is inside. But because of lack of awareness, instead of becoming one with the God, we put in a wish list and keep him away from us. Because suddenly our attention goes into what I need from this world. We feel by owning this world we will become complete. Memories, investments, portfolios, properties, no amount of it is going to complete us. Should we stop? No, don't. But don't lose yourself in it. Let the phenomena go on, but see it as your own expression. So, and there is neither experiencer nor the experience. So, who is this person who is living? Remember, we are talking about living not in the past, not in the future, but 100% in the present. When you are 100% in the present, there is no experiencer and there is no experienced. You are at one ment with the whatever is taking place. You are at one ment. You lose your identity, you lose the time, space, you lose the differences, because you are so at one ment with whatever, at this moment speaking, then gardening, then drinking, then eating, whatever. Do everything 100%, because you are interacting with yourself. You are not, if you have this disposition that you are doing all this to complete yourself, then there is a problem. But if you have this disposition that I am interacting with myself, this phenomena is going on, let it go on. I did not initiate it. As Gurudev used to say, I am not born because of my choice and I will not die without my choice. What makes you think between birth and death, the womb and the tomb, you have any choice? No choice. But we live as if we have all the choices. Allow the phenomena to unfold. To understand how to allow the phenomena to unfold without interfering and not doing, but yeah, remaining a witness to the whole thing. Read Krishna Leela, Ram Leela. Read their stories. They are ever and ever and ever equanimous in their vision, undisturbed. Playing every moment, Krishna and Ram are 100% performing in that at any given moment. But there is no sense of ownership. There is no sense of manipulation. See? Thus, intense living in this experience is meditation. Meditation is not sitting quietly, physically sitting quietly. Meditation is your natural state. So we should be, whether we are sitting, whether we are awake, whether we are working, whatever is taking place in this Leela, if we have not lost the oneness, then we are in meditation in and through. Because going into silence, what we call as meditation, is a mental construct. Getting into activity is a mental construct. Involvement and withdrawal. Remember, what is that called? Pravritti, nivritti. Pravritti is involvement, nivritti is withdrawal. It is not happening at the conscious, to the pure consciousness, to that one principle. It is a phenomena. That phenomena at our individual level, the phenomena is this body. At the body level, and body is a concept of the mind. And mind is going through this phenomena of involvement. How does it involve? Waking and dream. How does it withdraw? Sleep. Let it go on. How does it matter? You be everywhere 100%. And for that, alertness is required. For that, intense awareness, which is not corrupted by ownership, which is not corrupted by value giving, which is not corrupted by past, which is not corrupted by likes and dislikes, which is not corrupted by our attention on the result, then these things happen. When this will automatically happen. Because by wishing it will not happen. Because this is your natural state. Now you have to adjust all the parameters. Just like here I am here in their house, the child is growing. Okay, he wanted, let's expose him to cricket, let's expose him to basketball, let's expose him to volleyball, let's expose him to hockey, dance, music, singing, tabla. Expose, and then something will click. What is his natural inclination towards? What is your natural inclination? Every one of ours is to be happy all the time. Now, what's so big deal to work this out? We all know we are living, doing everything in our life only to be happy. But we are searching in the wrong place. Now, correct the search. That's all. Instead of seeking happiness out there, recognize that you are the source of happiness, you are of the nature of happiness. And what will be the consequence if we are the nature of happiness? That instead of seeking, we will be distributing it. Start sharing. Can't even share, because just be happy every moment, because that is your nature. And if you notice, yeah, I agree what Dhaneshwar Maharaj is saying, but okay, what is coming in between? Memories are coming, delete them. Oh, future is coming, delete it. Whatever is coming as a corruption between you and yourself, give it up. And how do we give it up? Not physically, not mentally. We don't do anything to give it up. We allow it to drop away. Urvarukameva bandhanat mrityor mukshiyamamritat. Then what do? We increase our intensity in being in the present moment. We increase our focus on the self that we are. Which means we are not available to other data. We are only available to ourselves. And even if our senses and mind are available to the world, our interaction is, all this is an expression of the self. If it is an expression of the self, then how can I desire this or that? How can I run away from this or that? How can I have like or dislike for that? Everything is the self alone. See? Samatvam yoga uchyate. Then we will not react to anything. Thus, intense living in this experience is meditation. In such a place alone, there is knowledge without the knower. So, what is happening when we are at one ment with the whatever is taking place? What did we say the knowledge was? Knower, known, knowing. Isn't it? Huh? Knower, known, knowing. Now what is happening when we are completely at one? Experiencing is going on, knowing is going on, but no knower is born. Because if knower is born, seer is born, hearer is born, thinker is born, ego will pop up. The ego will pop up. Again, the consciousness starts crystallizing. Water is crystallizing into an ice cube. Uncomfortable everywhere. But when same ice cube starts melting, it becomes the infinite waters. Same. This crystallized I, and its crystallization was directly proportional to the data it was identified with, the objects that it was identified with. Lesser the objects, lesser is the I. No object, no I. Next step, whether object or no object, the I without a thought continues. It is ever, ever, ever and ever. This is Kaivalya Sthiti. This is the undifferentiated knowledge. In this there is only joy, the oneness in the reality. This is what we are constantly searching for, because that is our essential nature. But where are we searching? We are searching it outside. And where is it? It is our nature. Until that identity between the experienced and experiencer is established and both disappear in the experiencing. Meaning what? At this moment there is a dichotomy. Dichotomy meaning you feel you are separate from the husband or wife, you are separate from this world. By this contemplation, what we did today, we are coming to the source and we are saying, just like that Paramashiva alone became expressed as Shiva Shakti, that one reality alone, the Guru Tattva alone expressed as Guru and Shishya, that same Atma, one Atma is expressing as Aham and Idam, subject and object, and this is the way, this is the solution to all problems of humankind. Because as an individual, we are living in differences. Only when we come to this unifying principle, which is the essential self, and understand, recognize that that one self alone is expressing as the I thought also and the that thought also. That meaning the entire world with all the variety. This is the only way to how by interacting and giving value to the world you are going to bring about the oneness between the individual and the world. When this is the game, that I want to become one with the world, then to make the world my own, I get married. To make the world my own, I eat food to become one with the food. To become one with the world, I go traveling different places so that I can collect the memories and I feel I am one with it. And this way, we have been living like this for how many, whatever your age is. But has it given us the joy, the bliss, the tranquility, the peace that we are seeking? But once you recognize that the seeker and the sought are by nature one, the subject and object are nothing but one, the ocean and the wave are nothing but one, the water. The seer, the eye, the seen, the world, the hearer, the eye, the heard, the words, are nothing but one. And this oneness cannot be established as long as you are involved in the world. This oneness will reveal only when we are focused on the self. Only once it is required. You don't have to keep again and again accessing the self. Only once. Put all your energies and vanish. And recognize that you are the one without a second. From then on, everything will be going on. But your vision has transformed. Now what is happening? Experiencing is taking place, but the difference between the experiencer and the experienced, which are appearing, we have taken that appearance to be real, but for the one whose vision has changed, who is established in the self, this appearance is just a phenomena. He sees himself in the experiencer and he sees himself in the experienced also. This is the transformation. This is unconditional love. This is why Shiva is always for the Shakti and Shakti is always for the Shiva. See? Now recognize this and work towards it. Chart out a pathway for yourself. This is one way. बस बच गए. अरे quickly, one more line. Until that identity between the experienced and experiencer is established and both disappear in the experiencing, one cannot find fulfillment. The struggle, the frustrations, and the tensions will continue. So, why do husband and wife fight? Because me versus you. Recognize. The husband recognizes the wife is my expression, and the wife recognizes the husband is mine. Then there is harmony. Each one is work towards invoking that oneness within each other by thought, word, and deed. But that is not taking place. Why? Duality is given more importance than oneness. We'll talk about this last sentence more in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sit quietly for 10 seconds. Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamiji.